The other Nature Boy, the headliner of Weekend of Champions was Ric Flair. And I know, Bob, that as we going into this next clip that we have, Nature Boy Ric Flair was on a show called Sports Byline, and it was an older show. I was trying to get Rick on the radio show to promote his appearance at the convention, and it was a no-go, like every week, trying to reach out, trying to book him, and he would just say, I'll be there. And I think in the back of his head, I don't know. I mean, it really came down to the wire, and I had gotten permission to air this interview from Sports Byline, and we were able to secure that and air it on the show a week before the Weekend of Champions.
Right, and I'll let the listeners know this. In this coming interview we're about to play, Ric Flair is disarmingly honest.
Yes.
He is so honest in this interview that I was taken aback listening to it. For the day when this was recorded, I think it was pretty strong stuff. I really do.
And then we have a special surprise for everybody after this clip. We're going to actually bring on the show not only the person who shot the photo of Bruno and Buddy, but also the guy that sat with Ric Flair at the convention at his autograph table for the 2 days. So let's get the clip going, and then we'll bring on our special guest.
You got it. Here comes a interview with Ric Flair.
I think the best cover that I've seen in the WWF magazine. It is a great shot of the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. And, of course, SummerSlam is next week. And I got to commend the WWF for one thing. And Ric Flair coming into the WWF, I think, is a match. Him and Hogan is a dream match. And I am getting excited watching WWF now. Just watching them make the references to Flair. I can't wait for Flair to come in. I'm not even watching WCW anymore. Well, I am going to watch now since Cactus is back with them, but just waiting for this dream match to come about. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for Ric Flair to enter the WWF wearing that belt. It's going to be great. Sports Byline had an interview with Ric Flair. Now, this goes back a while, but a lot of what Mr. Flair says is very relevant today. We got permission to use this from Ron Barr, and a producer of the Sports Byline nationally syndicated talk show. We had played this a long time ago at our other radio station, and of course we've increased our listeners by multitudes since then. And I think everybody out there who is listening right now, if you want to get a tape recorder started or something, this interview is a classic one, and we're going to go to it right now. It runs I guess it runs about 20 minutes or so, but we'll come back to it after the news break if necessary. But let's go right now to the Ric Flair interview with Ron Barnes, Sports Byline.
Welcome back on this Thursday night to Sports Byline USA. If you were listening last night, you know we had one of the all-time greats in professional wrestling in Bruno Sammartino, and one of the things that he said right away when I asked him, I said, who is it that's on the scene today that you respect? Who do you think is the best wrestler? He did not even hesitate when he said Ric Flair. And I think anybody that's seen the NWA heavyweight champion wrestle knows that he does not cheat his fans, does not cheat anybody with the effort that he puts forth. He goes out there every night and he gives 100%. 39 years old, been wrestling for 17 years. Ric Flair joins us tonight on Sports Byline. Good evening, Rick. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Do you relate in any way to Bruno Sammartino and the way he approached wrestling and the way you approach it?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't around Bruno Sammartino when he was the champion with the WWF. I knew him by reputation, and I had the opportunity to meet him one time in Chicago when I first started. But I know him now, and I knew of him then, and his reputation, of course, was impeccable then. And I know him as a man now, and he's a fine man, and a man that has put a lot of time into this sport, and a man that has earned the respect of everyone that's ever been around him and seen him wrestle. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, he's held in very high esteem, not only by myself, but by most every wrestler that's ever met him or had a chance to see him wrestle.
Well, the reason I said that, Rick, was given what he said about you and what I have heard about you, there seemed to be a great similarity in the attitude. He has a little bit of a problem with the flamboyancy, the steroid use in the sport right now. And he did say, he says, this guy goes out there, he works on his craft, and he goes out there and he'll give you everything he's got every night. So that's why I thought there might be a similarity between the way you two approached wrestling.
Well, that's very nice of him to say that. I'm sure that our attitudes are the same in terms of what we feel this sport needs, and our feel from conversations I've heard, like the one you had with him last night, that he's a guy that believes that our sport is professional wrestling, and we need more of it.
One thing I know about athletes, particularly professional athletes, Rick, is that during the course of a baseball season or a football season, it's very difficult to go out there and perform to the top ability night in and night out, particularly over a baseball season, I think. But yet you guys have such a travel schedule, and yet you have to go out there and do it. How does one, after this many years, in your 17th year, still maintain that fire to go out and perform as you have to, and in the very physical manner in which you guys do?
Well, in relationship to baseball, there are athletes in baseball that bat .350, and there are athletes in baseball that bat .200. That's the only way that I can break this down for you. The guys that bat .350 or 300 plus, let's put it like that, are the guys that the guys that hold their average over the course of the year, are the guys that can relate to what I do. I go out there every night, 300 plus days a year I have, and I wrestle to the best of my ability. I've been fortunate. I have had very few injuries, which has a lot to do with the career of a professional athlete in any sport. And I keep myself in the peak condition year round, and which wrestling, adds a lot to.
The pressure that you must feel from the fans because of their expectations, is that a two-edged sword? Is that a difficult thing? Do you put more pressure on yourself for a performance level than, say, somebody else might?
It's a combination of both. I have a tremendous ego, which says that I have to be the best every night. I am on last, and I usually have to follow some great matches that have been on ahead of me with great wrestlers involved, and a lot of times it's hard to go out there and be the main event, because the people expect the most from you. But that goes with the territory, it goes with the job, and I wouldn't have it any other way. When I slow down a step and when I feel I can't do it at the level I'm doing it right now, I won't be involved.
How long does it take you to get out of bed in the morning?
I feel better now than I felt 15 years ago, to be honest with you. It's funny. That goes back to the fact that I have only had 2 really bad injuries since I've been in wrestling. And considering I broke my back in an airplane crash in 1975, I'm very lucky that I don't have more problems than I have. But I've been very lucky, and I attribute that not only to, of course, someone watching over me, but the fact that I keep myself in real good condition year round.
How did you end up on the road to professional wrestling?
Well, I was raised in Minneapolis, and at the time, Vern Gagne was the AWA kingpin and one of the real big stars in our sport, and a man with tremendous recognition throughout the country. His son and I are the same age, and his son and I came to know each other at the University of Minnesota. And wrestling is something that I'd always liked. I'd watched it as a kid. I'd been down to the matches several times, and I could see that I wasn't going to play professional football, and I really felt like I wanted to be involved in sports. And I said I had a good amateur wrestling background, and I approached Greg about it, and he introduced me to his father. And a year later, he gave me an opportunity to train with some great athletes.
Rick, you have some very distinctive features. How difficult is it for you to just go out and be Ric Flair?
It's not hard at all. It's funny. Our sport, I think, right now is held in such high esteem that I don't have the problems that I think a lot of people think we do. I think the people in sports today, the sports public, likes the charismatic part of our wrestling. They like the interviews. They respect They respect you if you're an athlete. I'll put it like that. And I think my reputation as an athlete and as a wrestler far precedes my so-called reputation as a flamboyant character.
Do you try to do that for purpose because you want to give some viability and credibility to what you do in the ring rather than have, as some other wrestlers have shticks? How do you feel about the shticks that they have?
Well, it's really hard for me to answer that question because in my personal relationship with this sport, a lot of things that I say on TV, I really do. I mean, I've lived a real good life. I've spent 2 fortunes in this business, but I've done a lot of that with image enhancement in mind. I mean, I was renting limousines back in 1976 when I couldn't afford them. I bought my own limousine, as a matter of fact, and I hired a 19-year-old kid in Charlotte, North Carolina, to drive me all throughout the Southeast. You know, I mean, and I've spent a fortune on clothes, and you know, as my image and as my reputation grew, I just expounded on it further and further. I would rent, as an example, a Learjet to fly to from one town to another, and that was long before it was fashionable.
Mm-hmm. What's the most
So it for me, it's been real. A lot of people will get on TV and say they've done things like that,
Uh-huh.
but haven't been close to it.
So this is a real, true reflection of your personality as you actually are, whether you're in the ring.
I got so wrapped up, and I am so wrapped up in this sport, and I've always wanted to put myself on a par in real life with people that do fly in private jets and do have all the things that I think a guy who's on top in any professional sport ought to have, and if he wants that type of lifestyle.
And there you have it.
The Nature Boy, Ric Flair, the headliner for Weekend of Champions 1991, and that interview with Ron Barr from Sports Byline from several months earlier still is relevant if you want to know some of the inside stuff of the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I tell you, it was an honor to have Ric Flair at the convention.